My name is Frances Homans, and I'm the head of Ag Education, Communication, and Marketing. And I wanted to welcome you all to this really very special student showcase. The last time we had a showcase was 2 years ago in our beautiful classrooms in LES, and we got to see our new classrooms. And here we are virtually, but we're super excited to have the student showcase to see all the wonderful things that our students have been up to. We're really excited to show this off to you. Here's our agenda for today, so everybody knows what to expect and what the flow is for today's showcase. So first we'll do some program updates from our Ag Ed and Aecm program. You'll hear from faculty to provide those updates. And then we will have a series of breakout sessions with our talented students, and you'll get to choose the breakout sessions that you're interested in to get to hear more up close and personal things about what's going on with students in our programs. When we return from our breakout sessions, we're going to have our very special Spirit Award presentation to Bob Ressler and hear about his career and his contributions to ag education over the years, and why we are so pleased to recognize him and his accomplishments and his contributions at that point. After that, we will open it up for other updates and some thank yous to our supporters and mentors. And then if we have time, we'll have a chance to chit chat with each other until the end of the program. We're not really sure how chatty everybody's going to be, so we'll just let that be open-ended at the moment, but there may be some time for networking and chatting at the end. Okay. So now I'd like to introduce you to a few faculty members who will be giving us updates on each of our majors. Amy Smith is an associate professor of Ag Ed and will be giving an update on our Ag Education undergraduate and graduate programs. Garrett Steed is an assistant professor in our Ag-Com and marketing major and will be providing updates on that part of the program. I really hope you find these updates really interesting, as I do. And there's a lot going on this year, and we're so proud of the work of our students, faculty, and staff that they're doing in Ag Ed and Ag-Com and natural resources. So I'm really looking forward to this. I hope you are too, and I'm going to turn it over to Amy. Take it away, Amy.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Frances. It is such a pleasure to see so many friendly faces. I wish we could all be in the same space and I could be doling out hugs to some of you as well, but it is just as a nice backup is getting to do this virtually. As Frances said, I'm Amy Smith. I'm an associate professor of ag education here. And I do have a counterpart, Becky Haddad. She is currently on maternity leave, and you'll get to see a picture of her new addition here in a little bit. But representing the two of us and Lee Thompson as well, who's an instructor in ag education, it's really exciting to share some of these updates. If you receive the Ag in Action magazine from MAAE, you may recognize this graphic or the two graphics that are on the screen right now. But in the past year or so, we've had a lot of exciting changes happen for ag education at the U of M. And you can really see some of those differences in the two graphics. Obviously, we're not sitting behind a computer as much anymore. We are teaching in person, which has been super exciting and wonderful to be in the same presence as our students. But we've also really done some programmatic changes. We've expanded some course offerings, repackaged graduate courses with more flexibility for our working professionals or off-campus students. And we're working with the Office of Teacher Education to develop a proposal so that non-U of M licensed teachers in Ag Ed could take our graduate courses and meet the work-based learning standards. For those of you who know ag education, you know how important it is to have that work-based learning licensure as well. And so we really want to be able to serve the teachers in that way. We're also embedding the CASE curriculum. CASE stands for Curriculum for Ag Science Education, and it's really an innovative inquiry-based way to teach content and really equip our teacher candidates with the latest and greatest tools and pedagogy for teaching ag education. So one of the things we're doing is really offering that as an embedded part of our student teaching internship. And this spring will be the first time that our cohort will go through that CASE curriculum. So we're thrilled about that. Dr. Haddad is actually a CASE certified teacher. And so we're able to do that a little easier because of her expertise. We also are working to propose an ag and food education minor. We know a lot of people in CFANS and outside of CFANS have an interest in where their food comes from and an interest in working with a broader audience to communicate about ag, food, and natural resource or educate in non-formal settings. And we're hoping that this not only meets that need, but also may expose some folks to ag education that didn't realize that was a career path. Garrett, you want to hit the next slide for us? We do have some very exciting points of pride. I mentioned in passing baby Haddad, but Malik Haddad was born on November 3rd, and you can see we've got Anara and Shaq and Malik. So they now have a full house at the Haddad household, but we're super excited to welcome him to the Ag Ed family. And then we also have some recent awards that were just given out at the ACTE conference or NAAE conference, which are some of the national conferences in ag education and career and technical education. So we want to give a huge shout out to these folks as well. Brad Greiman, who fairly recently retired from a faculty position here, was recognized as the ACTE Teacher Educator of the Year. And Luke Becker, an alum of our program, was recognized as the ACTE Teacher of the Year. So both huge honors in the area of career and technical education. And then two of our alum also were recognized by NAAE. Joe Ramstead, a relatively young alum from us, was recognized for his teaching innovation with the Region 3 Ideas Unlimited Award winner. And Mike Miron was recognized for outstanding mentorship. So we know that we have outstanding graduates doing amazing things all the time, but we want to definitely highlight some of these and the expansion of our Ag Ed family with Malik. Garrett, next slide, please. Finally, I just want to share a couple upcoming opportunities. I mentioned some expanded course offerings, specifically Aecm 4115, which is culturally responsive education in ag, food, and natural resource science. I botched that title, but that's the gist of it. And this is a new course that was proposed and developed by Dr. Alana Livstrom, who's our partnership outreach coordinator. And that will be offered this spring. So students, if you're interested in that, take it. Faculty and staff and supporters, if you know of somebody who may be interested in that and really in community engagement in ag, food, and natural resources, have them reach out to us and get in touch. Finally, there is an Ag Ed Connectors coffee chat. I know I saw Val Arsvald and Mary Bichetti on. We want to continue that connection with alumni and stakeholders in ag education, and those two gals have been instrumental in moving forward some activities around this coffee chat and really having some alumni connectors. So mark your calendar for January 13th. We'd love to have you join us. Now, Garrett Steed will share some updates about the Aecm AgCom and marketing side of our program.
Hi everyone, I'm really excited to share with you some updates about our AgCom and marketing program. Similarly to the Ag Ed program, we have proposed an agricultural and environmental sciences communication minor here in CFANS. We have a lot of students from majors such as animal science, environmental sciences, food science, nutrition that are interested in our coursework and take some of our courses. And so we thought it might be a great idea to be able to offer this science communication minor. We're still going through that approval process, but luckily we have gotten full approval from CFANS, and it's moved on to that next step, and we hope to be able to offer that minor in fall of 2022. Additionally, in 2022, we're going to be leading our first departmental focused study abroad. I will be taking students to Argentina in May of 2022. We'll spend the second half of the spring semester in class learning about Argentine culture, Argentine agriculture, and how communication and marketing make Argentina a global competitor with the United States. And so we will then leave at the conclusion of the spring semester and spend 2 weeks, part of that in Buenos Aires and the other part in a small town called Rosario on the banks of the Parana River. We're going to be doing lots of cool activities. I have the opportunity to go this spring to do my this spring break to do my site visit to make the last of those plans all fall into place, so we can go and expose our students to a really vast part of agriculture and some opportunities for international programming as well as international careers for our students. As you can see here, I have a couple of photos. Of course, our students are involved in 2 primary student organizations within our major, Agricultural Communicators of Tomorrow. Those students will be attending Ag Media Summit this year, this coming summer in Raleigh, North Carolina. And then our National Agri-Marketing Association students are currently working on their marketing communications plan, which they'll present at their national conference in Kansas City in April. We have 2 awards that we are going to highlight as well from our National Agricultural Communicators of Tomorrow critiquing contest that occurred this past summer. We had the Award of Excellence for both design and layout as well as electronic media. So on the next slide, I'm going to show you a video that kind of highlights some of that and gives you a taste of what you might learn about in our Aecm breakout rooms. You'll have the opportunity to meet some of the students that created those pieces, learn about their creative process, and a little bit more about them. So I'm going to show this video to give you a taste of what you might see in our breakout rooms.
My participation in NACT has really opened my eyes to what the world of agricultural communications and marketing is. So the National Agricultural Communicators of Tomorrow is really an outlet and opportunity for students to connect with each other and see where they're at in their skills, whether it's communications or marketing or digital media. NACT has a critiquing contest that students can enter their work in that they've done through school. So some of those contests that students can enter their work in are writing contests, they can create a blog, if they have a professional portfolio, that's like a website, they can enter that. I personally entered photography. I know you can do all sorts of ads and radio ads.
Food is an essential part of our lives, but do you ever think about where it comes from?
And video ads as well. Participating in NACT has been really encouraging to me and the work that I have created. I didn't really have a lot of experience prior to coming to college, and so having other industry professionals say that they liked my work or having my work place above other students that are also very talented, it's really encouraging as I look into pursuing a potential career within ag communications and marketing.
So if you're interested in hearing more from some of those students who competed in the National Critiquing Contest this past summer, you'll get to hear from them in all 3 of our Aecm breakout sessions. So we hope to see you there.
Welcome back from the breakout sessions. Hope that you found the presentations were informative and that you learned something new. We're going to move on to the next part of our program, the Aecm Spirit Award presentation. For those of you who are unfamiliar, the Spirit Award was started by our program area in 2014 to recognize individuals who have really significantly impacted the success of our Aecm students and program. The award embodies the spirit of our program, thus the Spirit Award, and inspires each of us to make a positive impact with our lives. So I know that we have several of our previous Spirit Award recipients with us today on the Zoom call, and I'd love to give them a shout out. Roland, or Doc Pete, and Jerry Peterson, Cliff Rees, Bob Marzoff, Val Arsvald, Mary Bichetti, and Sue Knott. As you can see, this year's recipient will join a pretty darn elite group. Garrett, next slide, please. It's not every day that you have an opportunity to personally recognize and thank someone who has had a tremendous influence in your life or in the lives of those you care about. Today, I have that very opportunity, though. It is an absolute pleasure for me to present this year's Aecm Spirit Award to Bob Ressler, an enthusiastic recruiter, a dedicated educator, a lifelong mentor, and tireless advocate for agricultural education. Since 2013, when I started at the U of M, I've known Bob. Over the course of those several years, he's absolutely become one of my most cherished mentors in agricultural education and in my life. Bob has brought students to visit our program in Ag Ed and Ag Common Marketing. He's shared his wisdom with current students through classroom speaking engagements. He's provided student scholarships and support. He's coached beginning teachers as a part of the Teacher Induction Program Mentor Program, and he's informally mentored me as well. Bob's passion for agricultural education and his positive, progressive lens with which he sees challenges we face from time to time make him the perfect person with whom to have the change the world sort of conversations. As a bit of background, Bob began his teaching career, student teaching at Jackson High School in 1969 and received his master's degree in ag education the same year. He spent 18 years as the vocational ag teacher at an FFA advisor at Sherburne High School, teaching 9th through 12th grade students. In July 1987, he transitioned from that role to a role as an FBM or Farm Business Management instructor at Minnesota West Community and Technical College, where he worked with farm families until he retired in 2019, helping them to reach their family financial and production goals. Stephanie Woolleader, a current ag teacher at Martin County West, offered the following, recognizing Bob as a lifelong mentor. When Bob officially retired a few years ago, I made the comment that every ag program would be lucky if they had a Bob as a part of their program. Bob gives his time and lends a great deal of support to our program in many different ways. Throughout his career in ag ed, Bob has held numerous leadership and service roles, including but not limited to regional director for MAAE, a state delegate to numerous NAAE and ACTE conventions. He served as an educational representative for the National Farm Financial Standards Task Force, and he's been both a member and the president of the National Council for Agricultural Education. His career highlights include receiving the honorary state degree, honorary American FFA degree, Teacher of the Year for MAAE, Distinguished Service Award from the National Farm and Ranch Association, Outstanding Service Award from MNACTE, Minnesota Hall of Fame, Alumni Service Award from CFANS, and the Outstanding Program for Post-Secondary Adult Education through NAAE. As you can see, he's touched an awful lot of lives in agricultural education. Liz Ravi Knutson, a former student of Bob's and a former student of ours at the U, offered a statement about Bob's advocacy and involvement in the lives of others. Even though she's a graduate and has now entered into the professional world in agriculture, food, and natural resources, Liz offered this. He is still there to remind me that even though I chose a career outside of the classroom, the expectation is still for me to be heavily involved within Team Ag Ed, judging contests, volunteering my time on campus as an alum, and mentoring young people as they pass through my business. Bob didn't just do this for me. He's done the same thing for hundreds of students who have been lucky enough to be influenced by him as they grow and develop. Bob so deeply embodies the spirit of agricultural education and is so deserving and is such a deserving recipient of this award. Next slide, please. I wholeheartedly agree with Liz. When I think of someone who embodies the spirit of an agricultural educator, I think of an individual with an amazing heart for students, a passion for their content area, a commitment to excellence, and a desire to make a difference in the lives of others. Bob Ressler, without a doubt, demonstrates those characteristics, both personally and professionally. In fact, I have emails, text messages, and voicemails from him saved, and sometimes refer to them when I need a pick-me-up at the end of a long day or in the midst of a tough season of life. Somehow, Bob just makes you feel better, stronger, and more motivated to tackle whatever lies ahead. We will go to your comments. Just know that things like that make a true difference.
First of all, Amy, I want to thank you, Dr. Smith, for the kind words. I truly am honored to be receiving this fine award. And as you can see, or maybe you can't see, it has already found a place in our bookcase. And when Professor Holman's first contacted me to tell me about this award, I was really kind of hoping that it was Gopher football tickets for the postseason bowl games, but you know, instead I was more than happy to trade that off for the axe coming back to Minnesota where it truly belongs. Go Gophers! Before I think maybe I'll talk a little bit about the Aecm program. To prepare students to be successful leaders, educators, and communicators in the agricultural, food, and natural resources career field. As far as I'm concerned, that's about as good as it gets, and it says it all. I believe that the department has a mission statement that truly explains and truly tells what they are all about. It has been more than 5 decades since I started my teaching career. And as Amy said, I was both in the public school and in the Minnesota State College system. And because of that, if I were to try to figure out how to thank all those people over those 5 careers, I just couldn't adequately do it. Each of you know who you are and what you have done, and to you, I say my sincere thanks. I do, however, wish to recognize and thank my wife, Marlene, for her unending understanding and patience with me in my crazy schedule of events and activities. Due also for thanks are our three children, all CFAN students and all CFAN's graduates, for allowing me the time and energy to participate in these worthwhile, valuable activities. The future success of students and graduates of this program, I believe, lies in their ability to understand that we're all in this together. The more we are able to share experiences and advice with those who sometimes are hesitant to ask for help, the greater success we will all have in the future. I want to share something very personal besides my thanks to Aecm, and that is earlier I was in a session with Nancy Lindahl, and Nancy, I'm hoping that you're still on the call. Nancy, you may not know this, but your father, a former professor at the University of Minnesota, was the individual that came to my mother's farm, and I'm not going to tell you what decade that was, and convinced her to go to the university and attend the University of Minnesota, where she met my father, who was also a student there. I heard students say that one of the most impressive things that they talked about when they talked about the University of Minnesota was the fact that it's a family. And I think that I want you to know that it was, you know, that introduction to that my mother had with Nancy's father took place almost a century ago, 91 years ago. And the University of Minnesota and CFANs especially, is family. And I want to thank that family for this award and this recognition. It is an outstanding program that is looking to the future. And yes, sometimes we get in squabbles with family, but turnout that I saw from the CFANs family recently in my hometown here in Sherburne, Minnesota, for an untimely event that occurred was a true reflection upon that family. And the University of Minnesota and CFANs left an impression upon this family that I cannot express in words. Thank you again so much for this award.
Thank you, Bob, for joining our family today to accept the award. We all feel like you are so deserving of it, and it was a pleasure for all of us to be on the committee that nominated you and gave you the award. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Rebecca Swenson, and I'm an associate professor in Aecm. And I know that I speak for all of our faculty and staff when I say we are incredibly grateful to supporters like Bob and all of our other Spirit Award recipients, many of whom are here today, who lift up all of our Aecm students and our community in general. I don't know if you can tell yet today, but we are super proud of new innovations to our program and all of our students' hard work and success. But as a Spirit Award and Bob's Award showcases, none of us really does succeed alone. We have, as Bob alluded to it, a very strong community of people here who help mentor our students, who donate to our scholarships, including our brand new Aecm Scholarship Fund, plug for that one, and end up staying connected with our program after graduation to give back in some way. And this semester, I am very grateful to have worked with many of our engaged alums, some of our young engaged alums this semester as they return to the university to share some wisdom as guest speakers or to serve as small group mentors for our Aecm students. And these interactions brought a lot of energy and insight to our program, not only to our students, but to our faculty and our staff as well too. So I want to say thank you to everybody for being generous with your time, with your connections and your resources this semester. And now I'd like to introduce somebody who's got a long record of giving back to the University of Minnesota and making a difference within our larger campus community. Nancy Lindahl is an incredibly engaged University of Minnesota alum and an outstanding volunteer, a fundraiser, and a leader that has impacted many Minnesota organizations. So I'm going to turn it over to Nancy to briefly share her story and also to tell a little bit of information that we might not know. Bob seems to know a little bit about her father and the connection to the Aecm program, but hopefully everybody else after this call will know a little bit more about that connection as well. So Nancy, I'd like to invite you to unmute yourself and share a few words if you'd like to.
Well, it's pretty hard to even begin to talk after Bob's wonderful comment. Bob, I'm really here to congratulate you on receiving this award, and I have tears in my eyes, and I thank you. Actually, I wouldn't be here today if my father hadn't met my mother on the St. Paul campus in the 1940s as well. So we'll have to get together someday for a cup of Swedish coffee and talk about how we're probably just about related. I really want to thank you, Bob, in particular, for your love and your loyalty to the university and to the St. Paul campus. And I might have 2 extra tickets to the bowl game. Maybe we should talk about that as well. Go Gophers. My St. Paul campus, University of Minnesota story does encompass my whole life. I grew up very close to the St. Paul campus, called the Farm Campus back in the 1940s. I took swimming lessons there from Mr. Nowotny. I went to movies in Coffee Hall that cost a whole nickel on a Saturday. And I loved to visit the insect collections up in entomology. It was my favorite thing to do when I came to see my father on campus. When I was a student at the U, my job was dusting books and filling candy in the Coffee Hall bookstore. So my father, Ralph Miller, was hired by the School of Agriculture in 1934, a farm boy out of Iowa from Iowa State. He was hired to teach rural sociology. He later taught farm mathematics, economics, parliamentary procedure, psychology, and much more. When the School of Ag was closed, he taught in the College of Agriculture, Forestry, and Home Economics, eventually retiring in 1976, 42 years on the St. Paul campus. Ralph's final contribution to the university was to write a 169-page book on the history of the School of Agriculture. I reviewed that book when I was asked to speak to you today, and he wrote about the impact of the St. Paul campus on the economic, social, educational, and political lives of all Minnesotans. The careers of individuals were improved, farm homes were transformed, and communities were made more viable because of the experiences of University of Minnesota, now CFANS graduates. This still holds true today. My dad would be so proud of the students that I was enraptured with today. I think I heard 9 of you, and kids, you're going to take over this world. I feel it. I really, really am honored to be here to hear where you're going and what you're dreaming about. I'm very impressed by what you've accomplished already. And please keep taking advantage of what's on campus before you get out into the bigger world. So thank you for allowing me to address you today. Sky Yuma, go Gophers. I do love the St. Paul campus with all my heart.
Well, thank you so much, Nancy, for those comments and for sharing your story. It's just so wonderful to hear about what has happened over the years on the St. Paul campus. And I think about that entomology collection. I'm sure there is one still somewhere. Maybe it's in the Bell Museum. We can check it out. So before we wrap up our program today, I invite you all to stay connected with our program and follow us on social media, where we post updates on what's happening in our classes, the achievements of our students and faculty, and more. And read our biannual newsletter, visit the AgriCast website, and please don't hesitate to reach out to us if you ever have any questions, comments, or concerns about our program. Our contact information is right here on this slide, and we'd love to hear from you. Really, this is a sincere thing. We've talked about being together, and we are stronger with all of our involvement and engagement. So we would just love to hear, and I know you're not shy, so it's wonderful to hear from all of you. And so we have about 10 minutes left. So there's a little bit of time to chit chat. You're free to go, or you can stay around and ask questions, share stories, chat with each other. You know, I'm liking to hear what Nancy and Bob have to say to each other, perhaps. That was so interesting. So for those of you not staying on, just thank you so much for attending. We'll be sending an email out next week that includes a little survey about today's event and a link to our blog with some highlights from today. There'll be some videos, photos, and other projects from our students that you might want to look at. So thank you so much for everybody who presented today, everybody who came, everybody who was engaged. It was just so wonderful for me to see the highlights and to see the showcase of all the student work and the engagement. So exciting, and I really appreciate it. So I'm just going to, at this moment, we have about 10 minutes to stay on if we'd like to chit chat. Otherwise, it was just wonderful to have your involvement and engagement here today, and thank you so much for attending.